Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 17th of February, and this is Indexer Office Hours 244, a very special episode where we will be discussing all that is the roadmap for the graph. So, very excited to have everyone here on the call and looking forward to those who listen to this recording to also be listening to this after this has happened. For anyone who is new to Index Office Hours, either in the chat here or watching the recording, Index Office Hours is the town square where graph ecosystem participants come together and discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. As always, I say this, and today is no different. Today's conversation is This is a conversation and we do love participation. So if you would like to get involved in today's conversation, feel free to do so via voice or text. And of course, if you're having any challenges with your microphone or typing in the chat box, do let me know and I will get that sorted for you. As a reminder, this session is going to be recorded and posted onto public channels like YouTube. So if you are concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's exciting agenda. As always, I hand off to our special host here with us, Carlos, for the regularly scheduled Repo Watch section. So without further ado, Carlos, take it away.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Repo Watch. So this week will be quick. But exciting. We had a new red minor release. We're now at 1.11. And this one introduces a bunch of performance improvements, reducing latency, and also has a new storage format that you can opt into. Unfortunately, you'll need to resync for the new storage format, but the space reduction is quite significant if you want to try that out. Next on the consensus layer clients, we have two new releases for 𝗨𝗀𝗂 and Nimbus, both now at 26.2.0. And the 𝗨𝗂 one also requires a manual migration for the database, so beware if you upgrade to those. Both of these have an assortment of bug fixes, nothing super pressing. That's it for the blockchain stacks. Now going over to the graph stack, we have a new patch version for GraphNode. It's now 41.2. Has an assortment of fixes. So advice to upgrade, should not need any changes for your configs. And lastly, on the Launchpad stack, we have two new updated charts, GraphNode with that 0.41.2 version, and an update to the subgraph availability oracle, which most of you will not be using or running, but some of you may be. And that's it for this week, so I'm handing off to Juan.
Thanks, Carlos. Okay, getting into Protocol Watch, as always, we start with forum governance. The two latest disputes, that's GDR 48 and 49, have been resolved to a draw. There is a lot of information in the forum thread, but if you're interested, the link's in the agenda. The short version is that both of the disputes were for the same indexer, and it seemed to have been a transient error on the RPC for Avalanche that he was using, which was later fixed in newer allocations that were closed. So the POIs have been aligned with everyone else. So that's nice to see. And there's no further things to do on that particular dispute. So they've been closed as a draw per the charter. For the forum research, we don't have any new updates since last IOH. For the contract repository, we only have a few updates on PRs, mainly related to the rewards availability oracle, rewards eligibility oracle, sorry, and something related to indexing payments. And there's a small, chore dependency bump that has been closed. For the network subgraphs, there have been, as you've been aware, there have been a couple of fixes. This one has been
coming to the agenda of today. We'll spend just a couple of minutes on where the graph is today. Then we'll briefly introduce the evolving demand and economic flywheel that we've been researching in the Graph Foundation. We'll set the stage, explaining the Horizon framework. Most of you are already familiar, and then we'll dive into the roadmap itself with a focus on the multi-service expansion. That is the keyword for 2026. And then afterwards, we'll have 10 minutes for Q&A, but feel free to stop me if you have any specific questions on what is on my slide. Feel free to stop me as you go as well. So diving into it, the graph is currently all about subgraphs. We did establish a Web3 indexing standard that we now see used by almost all actors of Web3 data in the graph, sorry, in Web3 today, and we've seen dozens of indexes, thousands of subgraph developers, and tens of thousands of subgraphs developed. The focus on this market have been on the Web3 developers. What is worth noting on the Graph 1.0 is that this was all focused on one reward surface, that is subgraph query income. And for indexes, it was mostly the query income and indexing rewards. One demand vector from subgraph developers, and only one market segment of the customized APIs. We have now chosen with 2026 the strategy and the roadmap is expanding the graph. We are now looking at the entire blockchain data market. This is a small excerpt from BK's extensive market research, looking at both the blockchain data market and also the blockchain infrastructure market as a whole. We see JSON RPC having the majority of the market share. We expect this to decrease over time. We see streaming as a relatively small market share currently, and we expect this to increase quite significantly over the next year. Custom APIs, this is where the graph lies. We see that as like a 10 to 20% of the data market, and we expect that to decrease over time. Curated APIs, these are more your extended out APIs like the token API and those type of APIs, and we expect those to increase. I initially had this in my slide, but I seem to have changed. And analytics is the last one, which is currently around 10 to 15% of the market share. The graph is now looking to have a much more holistic approach, trying to cover more of these horizontal these verticals by expanding horizontally, and we'll see that in the roadmap. Another big part, and this was thanks to, I think it was Josh last time that during the impromptu Q&A that asked how we had arrived at the current roadmap and the current strategy. One part was looking at the market research. Another part was mapping out the economic flywheel of the graph ecosystem with the value bearing or the value the token as the vessel that transfers value, the protocol in the center, and we are looking at each individual participant in this ecosystem and looking at the financial viability and growth of each of them. The Graph Foundation as the coordinator, the data service providers, the data service users, and the data service developers and gateways. and we've been doing extensive research on how we can ensure the continued growth and improved revenue for each of these participants, and how that can feed back into the core protocol. So that is what have led us to our strategy. Introducing quickly 𝗨𝗲 Horizon for those that are unfamiliar. So far, the biggest change there is that it changes the protocol from being a single data service, or optimized for a single data service, to being a modular platform, and it allows other data services to reuse all of the primitives, permissionless participation, reuse the economic security by the 𝗨𝗲 token, reuse the trust minimized payment systems that we have developed, as well as setting their own arbitration mechanisms and choose their own governance parameters. So this is what truly allows the 𝗨𝗲 to be a two-sided market, allowing us to connect with providers that provide data services, such as subgraphs or such as substreams or other data services, and provide and the consumers of these services. So we can dive into the technical roadmap. Any questions so far on the context of the background of the roadmap?
Now's a great time to ask any questions. So if anyone has any, fire away.
We'll have time for Q&A after as well, but I'll dive into the technical roadmap. Starting with the subgraph roadmap for 2026. Horizon is already on mainnet. We went live December 9th last year, and we deprecated the old protocol in the end of January. We also aim to get the rewards eligibility oracle running by the end of the quarter. We are starting the testing with 3 of our indexes this week, and that will be on testnet. We'll, assuming that we don't have too many bugs or any issues, we will proceed to deploy that on mainnet by the end of the quarter. In Q2, we will have agentic subgraph service on the 𝗨𝗲 with 𝗨𝘀_2 compliant services. That will allow AI agents to interact directly with the subgraph data service without having to create API keys and interact as you would with the subgraph data service today. In Q3, we are focusing on the direct indexer payments, previously known as DIPs, and we are working on a network-first chain integration process. Currently, it is new chains are being integrated via the Studio, and the Studio is supported by a single centralized entity. We are working on a migration plan to migrate that support over to the decentralized network, including in everyone that is any permissionless indexer can support. But any indexers can permissionlessly support those new chains. Meanwhile, we are also working on some interim solutions. We are working on having some independent indexer support for select chains. That's something that we are working with InfraDAO on, and we'll be opening that up for other independent indexes as well. So in the coming weeks, I'll be sharing a form for indexes that are interested in supporting the long tail of chains that do not yet have indexing rewards on the network, but that may want to be supported or support their developers. And I'll be sharing more information and sharing a form for interested indexes in the next few weeks. And by the end of the year, we are also working on like AMP-powered subgraphs. So that will allow us to sync subgraphs a lot quicker and using the verifiable AMP data. So, any questions on the subgraphs roadmap? I mean, this is maybe it's the other items is what indexes are the most excited to see, the new opportunities and the new data services. So we'll jump there.
Yes, but we do have people typing in the chat, so maybe we can give them a second to ask their question. So, question here from 𝗨𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗀: Will AMP be powered by one chain at a time? Will AMP powered by one chain at a time testing? I don't know. Yeah, can you understand what he's saying? I can guess what he's saying.
Oh, if we will be having multi-chain AMP-powered subgraphs in, I can't comment on whether that will be part of the initial deployment, but that is certainly possible with the tech. Like there's no reason that we would need to limit it to one chain at a time. That is even possible today with substream powered subgraphs. It's kind of a cheat code that few developers know about, but that will actually allow you to. You can actually with substream powered subgraphs, you can actually do composition across chains, because there's no way for the subgraph to know whether your substream packages are using multiple chains. So it's something that I have used as a developer to cheat around that limitation and still have cross-chain composition. But it's something that would be possible with AMP-powered subgraphs, but it's not. I can't comment on whether that will be part of the testing and the initial MVP. So the agentic subgraph service is indeed a new type of gateway, and there are people here in the foundation that are. I'm welcoming if I'm saying anything that is incorrect during this presentation. I'm welcoming anyone from the foundation to unmute and correct me. Pedro is already correcting me. It will be integrated with subgraph gateway, but it will be separate, right? Like it will be a separate process. It will not go through the same payment. So it is not the same. Yeah. Pedro is typing. Yeah. So it's an upgrade to existing gateways. Let's jump on to the next one. JSON RPC data service. I know there's a lot of excitement around JSON RPC as a data service. This is something that we are exploring, and we are still unsure of how the exact structure will look like. We're exploring partnerships, integrations, or a native service, and that is something that we will be having more clarity and can share more on in the future. We're currently aiming for like Q3 as a target quarter to integrate a JSON RPC service. Substreams is the next one. In Q1, we had a ret and besu instrumentation. In Q2, we are aiming to have the first MVP for a data service integration with a full data service deployment in Q3, including the provider selection or Oracle. So that is when indexers should be able to permissionlessly stake and become a substream data service provider on the Graph network. In Q4, we are aiming to have the probabilistic verifier for data integrity and the service availability Oracle alive on the substreams data service, including the rewards, a similar rewards eligibility Oracle that we have in the works for the reward for subgraphs today. That will start testing on subgraphs this week. Any questions on substreams? On token API, we aim to have production grade latency on 10 networks and continued chain expansion in Q1. And by the end of Q3, we are also exploring a real-time price data to serve market intelligence and to continue with DEX and chain expansion throughout Q3. This is now a good time, I believe, to say, so these quarters are when we expect the integration work to finalize for each of these roadmap items. But a lot of these are already in flight, already being worked on. We already have prototypes, so we're already closing in on the specs that we require for each of these. So these are more the target launch quarters rather than exactly this quarter we'll be working on this and this quarter we'll be working on something else. The next roadmap track is 𝗨𝘀𝗀. 𝗨𝘀𝗀 is something that we haven't talked too much on in IOH, but it's a DEX liquidity indexer that allows mainly solvers and others that need like direct market data from DEXs to get that data through a streaming interface. It's built on top of substreams, and we are working on a private MVP to launch this quarter, showing our product positioning or how we can differentiate ourselves in the market on the 𝗨𝘀𝗀 data service point. And we are looking to have a public beta launch by the end of next quarter. And we're aiming at having a data service by the end of the year. Meanwhile, I see Matthew have a question in chat. Pedro, do you have more context on that? Meanwhile, I'll jump over to AMP, which, as you know, is 𝗨𝗀𝗧𝗧's new flagship data service. Sorry. Like with the previous roadmap tracks, a lot of this work is already in flight, but we are looking to finalize a lot of it towards the end of the year in Q3, Q4. That includes the SQL platform, having verifiable raw blockchain data, having a Horizon-based data service, both on testnet and mainnet, and having direct indexer payments for the AMP data service. The last track that we will be discussing here on the roadmap is the liquid staking and DeFi and delegation program. A lot of indexers have been asking me about this in DMs, and happy to share some more concrete timelines for that. We'll be working towards a private launch of a liquid staking initiative in Q2, with the full launch in Q3, and that would also come with a foundation coordinated delegation program and with cross-chain delegation. In Q4, we are looking to have a Morpho integration as well, integrating more tightly with the DeFi ecosystem. And that is the high-level roadmap. Before we move into Q&A, I actually have some questions for you all as well. If you could scan this QR code, you'll get to a Notion link. It has 4 easy questions. The key one being which roadmap item you would like to explore in more detail. And that would be very helpful if you can just have 2-3 minutes on to fill that form while we are here on the call. And I'll be coordinating with 𝗨𝗀𝗂𝗧 on getting more focused sessions on each of the interesting roadmap items. There's also a couple of more questions. They are optional. Which initiative you are most excited about? If there's any gaps you see in the roadmap, things that you would like the foundation to consider, and if there's any adjustment you would like to see to IOH, if there's any topics, if there's any adjustment to how we work in IOH to reflect the new strategy and roadmap.
There's a couple of before we get into that, maybe do you want to spark people's engagement? There's a couple of questions in the chat there.
I assume it's mostly Pedro and Matthew are discussing ret versus ret vs 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗧 vs with the support for ret and like Firehose ret. So Pedro's tagging me in there. Pedro will soon be out of office for a bit, so it will be on me to follow up with Off-Chain Labs, and I'm happy to do that. I think Matthew, I think you posted in chat for a little bit ago that you already have 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗧 up and running for Arbitrum Sepolia. So I assume the plan is still moving forward to have 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗧 on an Arbitrum mainnet as well. But I believe the Arbitrum Sepolia was supposed to be in December. So as if they are a couple of months late with testnet, I'm sure it will be even more delayed for mainnet. Happy to connect with them and see if we can nudge them from our end. BK is also in chat. He mentioned that he can follow up with off-chain labs directly in Denver. Can
There's a question here from Vincent asking, have you tried putting any sort of load on that RPC yet? And I'm assuming that question is for Matthew. So Matthew, feel free to hop in. Feel free to come on mic as well if that's easier to share some more context, Matthew. And there's also a question, and yeah, if you want to type as well, Matthew, feel free to do that as well. There's a question from Pedro saying, curious to know what excites you the most about this ambitious roadmap. Yeah, so just kind of trying to garner some feedback, some thoughts on what we just discussed there. I think it'd be really helpful for the guys to know this information. All right, Josh is saying, curious if this roadmap has been circulated to any token funds to see if it aligns with their views for the space in 2026. Any thoughts, Slim?
So we have circulated it and discussed it with the Graph Council. That does include people with extensive Web3 business development and Web3 VC experience. So we have that. We have also shared it with marketing partners and others. So and BK, you may have some more context here if you are able to address that as well.
And I'm responding to Josh's question, correct? Orion, I'm responding to Josh's question?
Yes, Josh's question.
Great question. Yeah, to an extent, we've gotten feedback from funds and other large players within the ecosystem more generally on kind of like mapping the research. The specific roadmap that we have in here hasn't been brought to multiple token funds up to this point. We would expect to do that as we move forward into this coming quarter. The exact date is escaping me, but we're planning to kind of reintroduce quarterly calls. I believe that's in the next slide. And part of what we would be able to want to do in that call is kind of introduce this roadmap and get continued feedback from those token funds. So that's kind of like what the plan is right now. So in other words, we haven't yet done that, but are planning to do that and planning to continue updating that roadmap in response to the feedback that we get.
Hell yeah, I love that, Slim. Not moving to the next slide until we have three more responses. Yeah. Let's guys, like they spent a lot of time working on this, so we do need to make sure that they yeah, thanks for sharing the feedback form there. Yeah, we need you guys to there you go, putting a GIF there. Yeah, Slim needs you. We need you to share some thoughts. What items would you like to explore in more detail? Which initiatives are you most excited about? Where do you see gaps or areas of improvement? And what adjustments would you like to see? What adjustments would you like to see to IOH to reflect this new strategy? Like, yeah, what kind of, how do you want IOH to change to accommodate for this new roadmap. Yeah, like this is obviously a very big move for the graph. So yeah, would love your 2 cents, guys.
Yeah, feel free to answer, even if you're a core developer, if you are already even a foundation member. Feel free to respond what you would like to have a more in-depth look at, and if you don't have the time to answer the latter 3 questions, the first one is a multiple choice where you can just click on the checkboxes next to the topics that you'd like to learn more about at IOH, and feel free to just submit the response with just those checkboxes clicked, and that will give us some more input on what sessions to have on IOH for the upcoming months. So feel free to just what you have time for there. So. Meanwhile, I can also mention the upcoming dates. We are currently at February the 17th. Tomorrow there will be a technical roadmap blog post, which we will follow up with more of a strategical blog post 1 month later on March the 18th. And by the end of the quarter, we will have our first renewed quarterly call. For some of you that have been around for a while may remember that we used to have quarterly participant calls, and we'll be renewing that. And yeah, more info to come on exactly how these calls will be held.